How's everybody doing today? So I'm getting started on time. I was struggling on Friday. Hope everybody's leaning into the holidays. Gonna have a great time. Might be a little thin tonight because of the holidays, but we're gonna make it work. Let's see. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. Let's see if anybody's gonna show up. Oh man. I guess I can check on my LinkedIn. Let's see. Checking on my phone real quick. Struggle streaming. Let's see. Let's go on. Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. Talking about media protection today. That probably was me. Give me a one in the chat. Let me look myself up real quick. Stay struggle streaming. See if I can find myself. Oh man. Should be getting better. Man, I don't even see me. Oh, thank you. Let's go and get started today. You know how we do. If you got any questions on tech or cybersecurity, drop them in the box. Going over the families. See media protection. Let's go and get started. My standard slide, NIST 800-53 provides a catalog of security and privacy controls for federal information systems. I do a lot of federal work, a lot of times dealing with the IRS, Pub 1075. It's published by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. That's what NIST stands for, which is a non-regulatory agency of the United States Department of Commerce. NIST develops and issues standards, guidelines, and other publications to assist federal agency in implementing FISMA, Federal Information Security Modernization Act, to help manage cost-effective programs to protect their information and information systems. So that's it. Here's the 20 families. We're halfway done. We go on media protection. You see it right there. These are the 20 security families of NIST 800-53R5. The big adjustments this year, usually in R5, was risk assessment and supply chain risk management, aka third-party risk management. Because there was a lot of third-party hacks coming up, so they made those families a little bigger and trying to strengthen those up. So there you see it right there. Media protection, policies and procedure, media access, media marking, media storage, media transport, sanitization, use, and media downgrading. So I picked out like 5 plus 1. So these are the subfamilies we going over for media protection. We always know the -1 is policies and procedures. Document, develop, and disseminate. Media protection policies that address purpose, scope, roles, responsibilities, management commitment, coordination among organizational entities, compliance, and it is consistent with applicable laws, executive orders, derivatives, regulation, policy, standards, and guidelines, and procedures to facilitate that implementation. So that's the one. We always know the -1 is going to be policies. Once again, if you got any questions, we're just going to roll through these families. Then we're going to talk a little more in depth of what you can use from a procedure perspective to help you in the media protection realm and kind of what's standard in there. So we're going to dig in that in a moment. Once again, if you got any questions, just drop them in the chat. Holidays, we ain't going to be here too long. Media access, restrict access to digital or non-digital media. System media includes digital and non-digital media. Digital media include flash drives, diskettes, magnetic tape, external or removable hard drive, solid state or magnetic, compact disc, digital versatile disc. Non-digital media include paper and microfilm. Deny access to patient medical records in community hospitals unless individuals seeking access to such records are authorized healthcare providers, is an example of restricting access to non-digital media, which is a lot of paperwork out there. Like we're trying to digitize, but doctors now are finally getting the iPads digital, but people still put things in paper files. We finally trying to get out of paper files. Right, there still is a ton of paper. Like when I work for the state, I mean, it's for the whole state, but they have warehouse and filled with boxes, right? Because you get it, then you have to archive it. A lot of times you got to archive the paper. So you actually send it out to a service. So that if you need to, for some reason, get that paper, right? So there's still a ton of paper. I think we're finally leaning more to digital stuff. I appreciate you, Larry, checking in on my LinkedIn. Let me know how it's going over there. I need to go over there and check out it. I'm not a huge LinkedIn fan for their live streams. I think they need to work on it. I appreciate you, Larry. Shout out to Larry. Definitely hooked me up with combo courses, so appreciate that. So let's keep going. But there's a ton of paper, and we'll talk about that at the end. You know, archiving it, shredding it. Certain agencies have certain shredding requirements. DLP is real big, so you can't put it on some media. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that at the end. Some systems and procedures and services you need. Media marking. Mark system media indicate distribution limitations, handling caveats, applicable security markings of the information. Exempt is organizationally defined for marking if the media remains within the organizational defined control areas. We try to mark it all. So a lot of times Teams is real big, Teams work area. You can put tags on files. So we want you to tag it if it's federal tax information, if it's PII, if it's GUI, classified. Is it non protected information? Is it protected health information? If you tag it right, then you can put stuff inside Teams to where you can put it, where you cannot put it. You can actually go out and find it. You can use their purview. A lot of times you might get access to legal documents, so it'll go out and find all the legal documents with that. So you can tag those up so you can get them to outside legal firms. Or tagging is needed. Then once again, you can also have default tagging. Anything in this work area is going to be defined with PII at the lowest. Now you can go upgrade it to federal tax information, or if you government top secret, right? So there's different ways to do that, but you should try to tag all your documentation. You can see it right there. Administration, along with the appropriate safeguarding and dissemination requirements for such information, is codified in 32 CFR 2002. Security markers are generally not required for media that contains information determined by the organization to be public domain or to be public releasable. But I still want that marking on there, right? So there's no confusion. If nothing on there is public, if it's not, right? So I think we should try to mark all the documentation, which is a pain, right? Media storage. Physically controlled and secure stored. Protected system media defined in MP4A until the media are destroyed or sanitized using approval equipment, techniques, and procedure. Such media, once again, is digital and non-digital. Once again, you get the public send a lot of flash drives. You don't really get diskettes a lot, but you do get a lot of USBs, kind of flash drives and information on it. So how do you mark them? How do you handle them? And how do you destroy them when you need to? Physically control and store media includes conducting inventories, ensuring procedures are in place to allow individuals to check out, return media to the library, and maintaining accountability for stored media. Secure storage includes locked drawers, desks, or cabinets, or controlled media library. The type of media storage is commensurate with the security category classification information on the media. Right. So a lot of times, which I don't like, but you get tax information, then it's all digital, but then somebody want to send a USB drive. So now you got to mark something physical so you can keep track of it digitally. So your digitally, you can say, well, the USB drive has this number. So if you need to go figure out what's on that drive with this case, you need to figure a way to tie them together, which is always a pain. And a lot of times, if you keep USB drives for longer than 10 years, they start deteriorating, right? So should you just take everything out the drive and link it to the file? So that's probably what I would recommend, to be honest. But I still would keep the USB drive. You can mark it that, it's no longer usable after a certain amount of time. But I will keep that for your chain of custody requirements, right? So that's part of that game. Media transport, protect and control, maintain accountability for systems during transport outside the control areas, document activities associated with transports of system media, restrict activities associated with the transport of system media to authorized personnel, includes digital and non-digital, flash drives, tape, papers included in there. Controlled areas of space which organization provides physical or procedural controls to meet requirements. So when I was doing that IRS work, we had a big warehouse. How you doing, Regine? Where we kept federal tax information, at least for that current tax year. So if we need to go get it, it's on site. But after 2 years, we would send it off site, right? But you would have to transport it from where we scanned it to another location out to the warehouse. So my boss, he was a stickler. He didn't want the guy stopping. He didn't want the guy going to the bathroom. He wants you to document, when you get gas. But you need to kind of figure out what that transports look like for your organization. Right. I think a lot of that, which I took for granted, but what does that look like? If you stop, because it's federal tax information. So if something ever happened to it, right, that would be an incident response for us, even though it's paper. Right. So we would have to let the state's general attorney know. We would have to let the IRS know, which is called TIGDA. All right. So if you got transportation of media and something happened to that media, once again, what's your incident response? What's your playbook? And two is, which is a separate thing, and we probably get into later, is if your warehouse actually, if the tornado blew the roof off and you got papers rolling down the highway, right? Is that an incident? How do you reporting? How do you know what's in there? How would we know what to report to the IRS? So that's stuff you need to think of when you transporting media. And from your playbook, we call that break the glass. What's the worst thing that could happen? And the weird thing I never thought about this, somebody said, is we would want the building to catch on fire because then it would burn all the paper up, right? Which is different if it's blowing down a highway, right? So there's just things you have to think in. How long are IRS documents stored off site? You have to keep IRS documents for the IRS for at least 7 years for those documents. And depending long term, there was some state board of accounts. So I think we were keeping them for 10 years. The cool thing is, each year, shout out to the Department of Revenue, state of Indiana, we were getting like 40%. I think when I left, we was down to only getting 10% paper. So it's probably 5% paper. Because most people now file their taxes electronically. So a lot of that paper part is super reduced. But IRS is 7 years. Logs are 5 years. Freedom of Information Act for the C-suite is 25 years. So they have to keep their email for 25 years. That's a good question. So document retention is that's a huge thing, and a lot of people just really don't really consider that. So yeah, especially at the C-suite. Once again, I think they, from the Freedom of Information Act, they would keep their emails for 25 years. It was something crazy like that. So let's keep rolling. I think we're almost done for those, right? The media is pretty short. Media sanitization. This is a huge one. Sanitize prior to disposable, release for organizational control, release for reuse, and employ sanitization mechanism with the strength and integrity commensurate with the security category or classification. I got about 6 of those coming up to different levels of sanitization that you would need for that. And I think that's NIST 800-53R5, I believe, which is sanitization. If you see at the bottom of this, NSA standards and policy controls that contains classified information, NORA policy control sanitization process for controlled unclassified information. So we're going to look at, I printed out the IRS version of that. So we're going to talk about some of the products using for media sanitization or media control. This is one used, DLP. This is Azure's one, as you can see Microsoft there. So you can get non-Microsoft Cloud. The big thing for most organizations is Exchange Online. That's your email, Teams, and SharePoint, and endpoints on your devices. You can guide onboarding, unify flexible policy management, integrate the MIP, unified alerting and remediation, integrating end-user experience. So let's look at the middle with the Microsoft products. So you can see if somebody has some PII or FTI in the Teams and they try to email it out, you can have the DLP block that unless it's a certain person. Same thing with SharePoint, same thing with Teams and Exchange Online. You might try to have people email stuff that looks like social security numbers, FTI, credit card numbers. You can have the DLP notify you or actually block it. All right. So most of the times we notify because you really don't want to stop work. But once you get comfortable and the tuning is correct, you can have it block stuff off. And actually can use the endpoint. Endpoint for us is people trying to take some on USB drives. So we blocked data getting written to a USB drive unless you was a supervisor. So I'm going to say we had 1,600 people and probably only 100 people could write to a USB drives, right? So because that, the harder you make it, harder to make it for the bad guys and tracking that stuff. Then once again, the endpoint usually USB drives, trying to write to a CD. So those are kind of stuff that once again is included in Microsoft for a slight fee, of course, but their products are pretty good in that. DLP sometimes can be a monster because we were getting a lot of false positives when we were trying to run it. So here, that's the shredding for the IRS. FTI is federal tax information. To use of any paper material must be destroyed by burning or shredding. If any other method than burning or shredding is used, that method must make FTI unreadable or unusable. So you see the table right there. Burning, the material must be burned in the incinerator that produces heat to burn the entire bundle, or the bundle must be separated to ensure that all pages are incinerated. This big one was shredding. This is not a standard shredder. We actually had to send this paper out to an outside service because that's almost dust. So most shredders don't shred that small. So the crazy thing is we will shred it, then we put it in locked bins, then we would shred it again, right, to meet the FTI. So if somebody took it and it was shredded, all right, off the truck, fell over, we could at least say we shredded it. It wasn't to the specifications, but then once they took the shred to their facility, they would get it to destroy paper using cross-cut shredders that produce particles with 1 millimeter to 5 millimeters, which is 1/4 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch. I'm sorry, that's one fourth of 100 and 2/10 of an inch or smaller, or pulverize and disintegrate paper material using disintegrators devices equipped with 32-inch or 2.44 million security screen. If shredding deviates from the above specification, the FTI must be safeguarded until it reaches the stage where it's rendered unreadable through additional means, such as burning or pulp. So once again, we shred it, then we put it in locked bins until we got it to their facility so they can shred it at this particular dimensions, all right, which was which was, I ain't gonna say it was hard, but there's just some as a GRC specialist security analyst, a lot of people are not privy to this information and know what that is. So a lot of times when I first come on site, a lot of times I ask people what is our shredding, because I know if they're doing their own shredding, it's not going to meet those specifications. Then you see at the bottom, electronic media, hard tapes, and drive must be destroyed according to guidance. MC media sanitization, which we were just reading. The media containing FTI must not be made available for reuse by others, offices, or released for destruction without first being subject to electronic magnetic erasing. If reuse is not intended, the tape must be destroyed by burning or shredding in accordance with the 2 F31 media sanitization, which is up at the top. So once again, that's kind of the physical nature of shredding. So let's keep rolling. So here's the 2-1 disposable. That's the act of discarding media with no other sanitization consideration. This is most often done by paper recycling containers. Non-confidential information must also include other media. Clearing information is a level of media sanitization that will protect the confidentiality of information against a robust keyboard attack. Simple deletion of items would not suffice for clearing. Clearing must not allow information to be retrieved by data, disk, or file recovery utilities. It must be resistant to keystroke recovery attempts executed from a standard input device and from data scavenging tools. For example, overriding is acceptable methods for clearing media. So if you see down at the bottom, the media type inside may also influence whether overriding is suitable sanitization method. SP 836, and we're going to look at some. You can have these degaussing, clearing, purging. Purging just writes over your disk like 107 times, and if you do that, you won't be able to actually use a utility that pull that data back. Because a lot of times when you delete, it just deletes the pointers, but the data file is still there. So you want to make sure you write over the data file. So let's look at some more of these clearing methods. You see purging right there. Purging information is media sanitization process that protects confidential information against a laboratory attack. For some media, clearing would not suffice for purging. However, ATT disk drive after 2001, the term clearing and purging has converged. So destroying is at the next block. Destroying the media is the ultimate form of sanitization. After media are destroyed, they cannot be reused originally intended. Physical destruction can accomplish using a variety of methods, including disintegration, incineration, pulverizing, shredding, and melting, right? So it talks about those in the destroying part. This is the kind of the big one. NIST 800-88 compliance certificate of destruction. Certificate of destruction must include hard drive, make, and model. So if you have a server and you're at FTI on it, and you're going to take that server offline and destroy it, they have to drill a hole in the disk and give you this, a certificate of sanitization, to make sure that that happened. So a lot of times when we had our private cloud vendor at the state, we were asked for the certificate of destruction for that. And a lot of times it's the outside vendors that come and get it. Now, a lot of times if you're Amazon or Azure, using purging and to write over the disk so many times so it can't get back. A lot of times you encrypt the disk. It's called, which they don't talk about that, cryptography shredding, meaning I shred the key. So the only way you can get the information out that disk is recreate that key or erase all the encrypted information off the disk. Right. So yeah, I should have got that encrypted shredding on there. But yeah, that's one big deal. We were talking about that for AWS. So if I have a hard drive from an EC2 or Kubernetes, I'm going to encrypt the whole drive. So if that EC2 spins down and spins up, when it spins down, you can have after action scripts run. So when I spin down an EC2, the last thing I do for media sanitization is purge that data right over 6 or 7 times. But still, if somebody got it or I didn't get to write it, I still have that whole disk encrypted. So the only reason they could read my data that's on the disk, if I didn't erase it off, they would have to have my key. All right, so I have a CAMS key. So theoretically, that would be cryptographic shredding. Then once again, so I encrypted the disk and I overwritten it 6 or 7 times. So that's kind of way you make sure you're in compliance with that. Let's see. I think that's all I have. Let me drop the link. That's kind of a short family. PBO shrugging. Oh, there my man Dwight. Shout out to him. They did an excellent privacy today. I was checking them out, supporting them. I need to get my privacy on. Shout out to Dwight. He don't have to coach an old dude up. Get my CIPP. Let's see. Just 7 years. We got. Oh, shout out to my evening, ladies and gentlemen. Crypto shredding. Shout out to that. Yep. So yeah, you can use that as a form. So me thinking from an EC2 on a cloud architecture, how would I make sure my media sanitization was correct? Once again, when your EC2 is spinning down, like you spin them up, once they get to a certain level of CPU use and level of processing, it's going to spin it down because it's no longer needed. So right before it spins down, right, the disk is encrypted, and I will kick off that purge right on that disk 7 times 1 and 0 for me to make sure I'm making the media protection sanitization in P6 in the cloud. That actually is probably overkill, but I rather have too much security than too little security. So, and we'll talk about that on our AWS day, which we're not doing tomorrow because it's pre-Thanksgiving. So we definitely gonna kick it in with the third-party risk on Friday. But yeah, we're gonna take tomorrow. Who knows? I might pop up, but no, I didn't schedule it. So I'm gonna hang out. Let me know if you have any more questions. Shout out to my man Larry holding down my LinkedIn side. Let me know if anybody asks any questions over there. I need to do a better job of peeking in on my LinkedIn peoples. Once again, I dropped the link if anybody wants to come up. Once again, a pretty standard family. The big deal is the DLP out there. They loss prevention, blocking people from writing the USBs, dropping people from sending the email. But the crazy thing, a lot of times, if they take a picture of an image, DLP won't see it. And if they encrypt the data before they send it out, the DLP won't see it. Right? But so the question is, why does somebody have an encrypted file going through the email that you didn't send, right? So Some people though are smart enough to use encrypted. I appreciate you. Glad you're doing well. Christian Madison, glad you can join me. But so yeah, that's the media protection. Once again, I think Defender gives you a lot good products, and also Azure has a ton of stuff. You got money, they got a ton of products. Once again, I need to look back at the DLP. We were trying to set that up and we were just having a brutal time with that. We were getting false positives in email. It was looking at emails, IDs, and thinking it was social security numbers that was embedded inside Outlook. I mean, that's probably been 6 or 7 years ago. I'm sure they're a lot better now, but that's one thing definitely have to get better on that. Let's see if there's any else thing I want to talk about. Yeah, the big deal I think is a lot of people miss out on. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. I can find my. Let's see if I can find my. That's the shredding. That shredding requirement's brutal. Once again, those are special shredders at a particular size. Those are super expensive. So he sent those out. And the other top part I didn't really talk about on there is a lot of times when you have paper, you send that to an outside service and they mark your box and keep track of your box of what that information is, because paper and boxes just take up a lot of space. A lot of people are trying to downsize, especially with going to remote work. People are downsizing their office, so you definitely have to get you an outside service to keep track of your paper media. But the other part of that is, especially from a tax information, we was pushing everybody to electronic returns. We're trying to get them off of that. Trying to get them off of that paper returns. Besides the types of destruction, a CISP topic. Any other common misconceptions about media sanitization, especially in the age of the cloud? Are there common misconceptions? Sanitization in the cloud. I think the misconception, and I think we struggle with that, and we're finally getting a handle on it, is those attestations. How do you track that in the cloud? Right? Is Amazon or Azure, when they destroy a disk, are they gonna send you an attestation? The answer is no. All right, so I think we're moving away from that and just encrypting which is that. I think we just going with encrypting the drive, so you controlling your keys and you don't have to worry about anybody reusing your drive or actually destroying your drive, because that data is encrypted, so they have to get your key. Now, the new odds to that, Dwight, is and AWS is doing, those quantum computing now is starting to break some high level encryption, like AES 256. So what is that going to look like? Right. So, but I think the misconception is the certificate coming from a cloud vendor. The crazy thing is most people don't understand they need to be asking for those anyway. So I think once again that's a high level conversation, kind of like you and the CIPP. There's a lot of things in privacy people should be asking. They're not aware that they need to be asking those. So I think that's once again the catch-22 on this certificate of destruction. Most people in the feds don't even know they need to be asking for one. For one. Um, so I think that's the double-edged sword of that. I don't know why I've been so tired lately. Let me know if that makes sense. Dwight, I just been all over the place. But yeah, I think that's the misconception of it. And I think a lot of people don't even think about when you have an EC2 and you spin it up, when you spin it down, that disk is available for other people EC2 to spin it up, right? So if you got, you know, data, residue or residual data on there, somebody might could see it. I don't think people think about that on a cloud perspective. So I think from your perspective, you at least should just encrypt that whole disk. You keep the KMS key, so when it takes that offline, even if they give it to somebody else, they're gonna actually have to write over your data anyway. Even if they try to bring it back, your data is encrypted. So I think that's the piece a lot of people are missing. I got some data. I wrote some data on EC2, and now I don't need my EC2, but my data is still on that disk somewhere. So if they spin it up and slice it up for somebody else, theoretically, if you encrypt that drive, they could possibly get your residual data off that disk. So once again, that's why we need to encrypt it, or on I think they call it turn down. I need to look at what they call it. I need to get on back on my Amazon. But when it spins down and no longer needs it, because you're not running that level of traffic, once again, it could spin up for somebody else with your data on it. So I think that's the misconception people are missing. But I think I need to look at it. I thought the Stiggs told people to encrypt their drive because of that. I need to see if there's a check out there specifically for that. But we know we need to handle that and make sure that's good. So once again, let me know if anybody got any more questions. I'm kind of winding it down. PBO ordered some Thanksgiving dinner. He ain't cook it. My daughter-in-law was gonna cook, but I ordered some food to chip in. So we're gonna see. I ordered some jerk turkey, gumbo greens, and jerk dressing. So we're gonna see. I had the jerk dressing before. I thought it was excellent. So we're gonna see if how this gonna work out. I told my daughter-in-law she better have some food picked up for a backup plan in case it don't turn out well. But no, people I use they holding it down. So they gave me a sample. It was delicious. But I'm gonna hang out a little longer, see if anybody had any questions. I think on Thanksgiving I'm just gonna have a long replay of some of my compliance. I think I'm just gonna come in and hit my playlist and just let it play for 10 hours and just pop in and pop out. She's having a dessert. I think we're doing the customary sweet potato pie. So I didn't order dessert. I should have ordered some dessert. I might pick up some. Now you got me thinking, Regine. But now I'm just chipping in on them. My son got a lot of kids, so I'll be chipping in on their stuff. So granddaddy gonna pop in and pop out. Like Kendrick Lamar, I'm gonna pop in and pop out. So yeah, I think she's doing a customary sweet potato pie, which PBO got to work on his health. My A1C is off the charts. I got to get that together. That's gonna be part of my 2025. Get back on AWS and get back on my diet. I got to get it together. Rough year for me, trying to get it together. No, I'm letting the kids let them try it out. They're picky. It'll be interesting. So I got a 8-pound turkey. So we're gonna split it up. Let them, cut me up some, take it home, eat it on 2 or 3 days. So it's all good. Granddaddy John can always buy some more, Dwight. It's all good. Granddaddy PBO can make it happen. All facts. But I'm almost 60, man. That's all. I got to get it together. So I've been going to a little gym, get my little bench press on. I was driving a little bit on the treadmill, trying to make a comeback. I know one thing, my feet are hurting. I'm going to have to go buy some shoes. Never want to hurt your feet or your back because they never heal. So PBO get paid this week. He's going to go get him some shoes so he can make a comeback. I probably avoid the gym. Everybody starts out in January. So I'm going to see how that goes. I go to a pretty big Planet Fitness, so it seems never to be packed. Of course, I go weird hours because I don't sleep well. So I want to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving. You know me, you can drop in one of many Discords I'm in. Shout out to Study GRC. Shout out to Simply Cyber. Shout out to CPN. Shout out to Space Tacos. I'm in a lot of Discords, so I'm out. Everybody have a great holiday. I'm sure I'm gonna be in the Discord. So if you need me, I'm gonna be in there. Also, I'm putting together some slides so I can get a. I'm doing a course, NIST 800-53 introduction course. So tomorrow I'm gonna record two short segments. The beginning of NIST, which started out in 1905. I was wrong. I thought it started out in 1920. 1905, they were doing weights and measures, vacuum tubes, different stuff for mainframe. So they kind of always been in that realm. So I'm gonna record that. Then I'm gonna record, and I think Study Jersey, um, PBO, your course instructor, history of me. So yeah, so I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna shoot that out. So I probably let Regine, Dwight, and them probably check it out before I send it to Dr. Ozier to look at, see if I need to tighten some stuff up. Then I'm hoping to go heavy, trying to get that done. Yeah, facts. Me, I'm goofy. I'd probably be working on Thanksgiving or doing. I appreciate you, Larry. I'll probably be doing some stuff. I appreciate you, Josh. Thanks for joining me. Quick or short one. Once again, I have a playlist. So if you're looking for anything compliance, I have a lot of NIST. I probably got just NIST alone, probably 50 hours. Then I got agencies that use NIST, state police is CJIS, health and hospitals, HIPAA, High Trust. Shout out to Caesar. I did one for ITAR. If you move in military bullets and weaponry around, there's a supply chain for that. I did a CMC vendors doing non-classified. I think 171. I got videos on that. Once again, CMC 171, 161. So CFR part 21 is pharmaceuticals. Okay, you got to work with me. I'm reading these off the top of my head. So yeah, I got a ton of compliances in there. Compliances I think you would need to know. But the cool thing, and I tell everybody this, just pick one. The majority of them are built on the same process and procedure. Right? I have an assessment. I have a vulnerability scan. I have risk. I have findings. I have poems. If I have a finding, I can close a finding. I implement it, meaning what it said do, I do. Closed it with a poem. I need more money. We're gonna close it in 2025. That's a new Cisco router. They want us to have DR. We're not buying two Cisco routers at $250,000. That's not in the budget. Close it with a risk acceptance, meaning us as an organization, we're not going to do that check. But here's our 4 compensating controls. The big one still in there is they really want you to block your remote access. They really want all your essays and admins to drive in. We did that at DOD 20 years ago. That check is still in there. They expect you to accept that risk and say you run a VPN, you running zero trust, you got micro segmentation, but that check's in there really for you to block remote access and drive in, right? But they expect you to say we're closing that, we're accepting that risk, and once again, here's our compensating controls: VPN, zero trust, IP marking, meaning we got a list of all the bad IPs out there that bad guys are using. So there's 4 or 5 controls you can do. Shout out to Game Over. Thanks for joining me. So those are all standards. So once you master that, then you can do, like I said, if you do NIST 800-53, you can do CMC 171, 161. You can do HIPAA and High Trust. All that same security program is in there. Shout out to NIST 800-53. They usually have mappings to the other things. So if you're doing this in NIST, they'll show you how it applies to HIPAA High Trust, CMC 171. The cool thing is it's usually an over control, meaning 800-53 has extra controls they don't have, right? So that's a good thing. So I'm working on that. That's going to be what I'm really going to go hard on in December. Trying to get that done, at least get that into a proof of concept stage, so we can get people to go in there and look at it and see if it's adding value to the community. Once again, I'm doing a NIST 800-53 intro course. I've been talking to that about 2 years, so it just kind of worked its way out. YouTube kicked me out for monetization. I was going to use membership. Then Dr. Ozier was cool enough to say he has his online university. And for me, I think that works better. I think he's going to advertise it for me. He's got a way more subs. So I think for me, I think that's the best way to go. I'm trying to get my subs up to 5,000 next year. So I think that'll definitely help me. What he was offering was super fair. Um, Shout out to Chris Whitlock. He validated me, so I didn't really have to do much to get to be able to do the course. So he said I was already verified. Shout out to Chris Whitlock. He got me verified. So that's all I got. Once again, I'll drop the link one more time if anybody want to come up. Once again, I'm wishing everybody a happy Valentine's Day. Be safe out there, man. People getting crazy out here. People getting crazy out here. So, but yeah, that's the certification of sanitization. I don't think people use that anymore, especially from a cloud vendor's perspective. They handle that on the back end. And I think that's one thing we need to put in a quick lab. I need to write that down in my labs. How will we set up an EC2 or Kubernetes or Docker? So when they shut down a container, shut down an EC2, shut down a VM, the disk is associated with that. Let's purge it by writing zeros and ones 7 times on it. Then let's keep the disk encryption on there and just sever it from our key, right? That's that file time. Oh, shout out to me. Don't nobody want me. You right, Dwight. I gotta get it together. Shout out to shout out to Thanksgiving. Good looking out for me. Yeah, PBO was tired for some. Well, no, I'm tired of grinding. So I'm kind of relaxing on the holiday. I appreciate you, Dwight. I'm out. Everybody have a nice holiday. I'm sure I see you in Discord. Once again, everybody have a nice day. Good looking out for me, Dwight. I appreciate it.